The theater lights were soft and warm, like the early light of morning. The stage was wide and quiet, waiting. Rows of seats stretched back into the darkness, filled with people who whispered gently to each other. Some held drinks. Some leaned forward with curious faces. The air felt calm, but also full of expectation, like a breath being held. This was America's Got Talent, a place where dreams often arrived shaking, hopeful, and unsure. Backstage, a young Filipino boy stood very still. His name was Mateo. Mateo was small for his age, with thin arms and careful eyes. He wore a simple dark jacket that looked a little too big for him. His shoes were clean but worn, as if they had already walked a long road. He held a guitar almost as tall as his body. His fingers rested on the strings, not playing yet, just feeling their quiet strength. Every few seconds, he took a slow breath, the kind his mother had taught him to take when fear tried to speak. And the sound of tricycles and street vendors filled the air. Mateo used to sit near a small open window, listening to the radio while his mother cooked rice. The radio was old, with a cracked speaker, but it carried music from places Mateo had never seen. One day, a song came through that sounded different from all the others. The voice was rough and strong, but also sad. The guitar felt like a storm moving slowly. It was a song by Scorpions. Mateo did not understand all the English words, but he understood the feeling. The song stayed with him long after it ended. That night, he picked up a borrowed guitar and tried to follow the sound he remembered. His fingers hurt, his voice shook, but something inside him felt awake. Music became his quiet place. Life was not easy. Mateo's father worked far away. His mother worked long hours, and some days money felt thin and fragile, like glass. At school, some kids laughed when Mateo said he liked old rock songs. They said his voice was too small for such big music. Sometimes Mateo believed them, sometimes he sang anyway, late at night, very softly, so the neighbors would not complain. When the chance came to audition for America's Got Talent, it felt unreal. The trip was long. The plane ride made Mateo's ears hurt. The city felt loud and endless. Backstage, surrounded by flashing lights and fast voices, his calm felt far away. He wondered if he truly belonged here. A stage assistant smiled at him and said his name. Mateo walked forward. The curtain opened, and the bright stage lights washed over him. For a moment, he could not see the audience or the judges clearly. He only saw light and shadow. He walked to the center and stood still, holding his guitar. The room slowly grew quiet. Simon Cowell sat at the center of the judges' table, his expression serious and unreadable. Heidi Klum smiled gently, her eyes kind. Howie Mandel leaned forward, curious. Sofia Vergara watched with interest, her head tilted slightly. "Hello," Simon said. "What's your name?" "Mateo," the boy answered. His voice was soft but clear. "And where are you from, Mateo?" Simon asked. "From the Philippines," Mateo said. Simon nodded. "And what will you be doing for us today?" Mateo swallowed once. "I will sing a song by Scorpions." There was a small pause. A quiet ripple moved through the audience. It was not the answer many expected from someone so young. Simon raised an eyebrow slightly. "That's a big choice," he said. "Whenever you're ready." Mateo nodded. He adjusted the guitar strap on his shoulder. His fingers found their place on the strings. For a brief second, he closed his eyes. Then he began to play. The first notes were gentle and careful, like someone opening a door slowly. The guitar sound moved through the room, steady and calm. Mateo's voice entered softly, almost like a whisper. It was not loud, it was not perfect, but it was honest. As he sang, something changed. His voice carried a quiet strength that did not match his small body. Each word felt placed with care. The sadness in the song came through clearly, shaped by a life that had already known longing and hope. The audience leaned in. The room felt smaller, closer, like everyone was sitting together in the same shared moment. Simon's expression shifted. His eyes softened, just slightly. Heidi's smile faded into something deeper, more emotional. She placed a hand near her mouth. Howie stopped moving entirely, his gaze fixed on the boy. Sophia blinked, then blinked again, her eyes shining under the lights. Mateo sang on. Halfway through the song, his voice grew stronger. It rose, not in volume, but in feeling. The words seemed to carry the memory of long nights, of quiet dreams, of believing in something even when it felt far away. Mateo did not look at the judges. He looked somewhere past them, as if singing to a place only he could see. A gentle twist appeared in the air. People expected power. They expected shouting. Instead, they were given control, restraint, and emotion. The song felt new again, shaped by a child who understood its heart rather than its noise. In the audience, someone wiped away a tear. Then another did the same. When the final note faded, Mateo let his hands rest on the guitar. The room stayed silent for a few long seconds. No one rushed to clap. It was the kind of silence that meant something had landed deeply. Then the applause came. It was not sudden or wild at first. It grew slowly, like waves gathering strength. People stood. Some clapped above their heads. Mateo looked surprised, almost confused. He bowed his head slightly, unsure what to do next. Simon cleared his throat. "Mateo," he said, his voice quieter than before, "that was not what I expected." Mateo listened carefully. "You took a very big song," Simon continued, "and you made it personal. That takes courage." "I could feel every word." Heidi nodded quickly. "You made me feel calm and sad and hopeful all at the same time," she said. "That is very special." Howie leaned forward. "You know," he said, "sometimes people think emotion comes from volume. But you showed us it comes from truth." Sophia pressed her hand to her chest. "You are so young," she said softly, "and yet your voice carries such a story." Mateo felt his throat tighten. He thought of his mother watching from home, sitting near that same old radio. He thought of the kids who laughed. He thought of all the nights he sang quietly so no one would hear. Simon paused, then looked down at the desk in front of him. "There are moments," he said, "when music reminds us why we do this show." He placed his hand on the golden buzzer. The sound echoed through the theater, bright and clear. Golden confetti burst into the air, falling like warm rain. The audience erupted. Heidi stood up, clapping through tears. Howie laughed and wiped his eyes at the same time. Sophia's smile was wide and full of emotion. Simon stood as well, his face open and proud. Mateo froze. For a second, he did not understand what was happening. Then he looked up and saw the gold falling all around him. His eyes filled with tears. He covered his mouth with one hand, his guitar hanging forgotten at his side. He cried quietly, overwhelmed but grateful. Later, backstage, the noise faded into something softer. Mateo sat with a towel over his shoulders, still shaking slightly. His mother hugged him tightly, saying his name again and again, like a prayer. That night, Mateo lay in bed, staring at the ceiling of the hotel room. The city hummed outside. He felt tired, but peaceful. He knew the road ahead would still be hard. Music would not fix everything. Life would still ask difficult questions. But something had changed. He no longer wondered if his voice was too small. He knew now that even a quiet voice, when honest, could travel very far. And somewhere between a cracked radio and a golden stage, a young boy had found his place, one song at a time.